Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Kathy, and I am back today with another card using the Hello Lovely stamp set from Concord and Ninth. I started out by stamping the big floral spray onto a piece of Canson watercolor cardstock, and I kind of stamped it off to the side there. I had a completely different idea on how this card was going to look, and then everything changed at the end. Truthfully, that's pretty typical for me. Anyway, I stamped it twice using VersaFine Onyx Black ink to make sure that I got a really good impression. And then I coated it with clear embossing powder so that I could do some watercoloring with my distress inks. While I was doing the stamping and putting the embossing powder on the image, I did have my heat tool off to the side heating up. If it's nice and hot, the powder will melt faster and then you get a little bit less warpage on your cardstock from the heat. So the next thing I did was I applied the distress inks directly to my craft sheet, and I started out with Barn Door. Then I moved on to Spiced Marmalade, Fossilized Amber, Peeled Paint, Mermaid Lagoon, and then I finished up with Seedless Preserves. While I was doing the watercoloring, I did not apply water directly to the cardstock before dropping in the color. I just had a really wet paintbrush. I tried to have the 2 cups of water, clean water, in a rinse off little cup there, but watercoloring is, it's really not my strength. I keep playing with it and working with it, and I really do like the results I get with the distress inks, but I think a big part of that too is that I'm kind of cheap, and I'm not too willing to invest in a really expensive set of watercolors because it's not necessarily my first choice of technique. I do like the technique, but you know, normally I'll pick up my Copic markers before anything else. But for this particular card, I really wanted a really bright and cheery rainbow type of card, but I did want that loose, messy watercolor look. So that is why I decided to go with the distress inks. And it also came together really fast because I wasn't too concerned about where all of the color was going. I just added color where I wanted it to, and if I needed to blend out some of the lines, I just added clean water to my brush and kind of moved the color around there. With the Fossilized Amber, it was a little bit too light, so I just added more ink to my craft sheet and used a not quite so wet brush to be able to get a more intense yellow. In hindsight, I think I would have preferred to use mustard seed, but I think I went with the Fossilized Amber because the peeled paint is a more muted green because I don't have mowed lawn. Anyway, once all of that was done and dried really very well, this is where I changed my mind on the design of the card. I used a stitched rectangle die to cut out the painted floral spray. That wasn't very easy to say. And then I found black glossy cardstock in my stash, which I don't know if it's still available out there. I'm sure it is somewhere, but I was pleasantly surprised that I found it. So I used 2 more stitched rectangle dies and cut it out to be a frame that could go around on top of the stamped and painted image. And I guess I was kind of trying to recreate like a wall hanging per se, but have it be small enough to fit on the front of a card. And that is how I ended up going with in this direction. And I also thought that because the embossing powder was all shiny, I thought that the black glossy cardstock would complement that quite well. And then just to make sure that that stayed the true focal point, I just slapped that on the front of an A2 sized white note card. And of course I used an incredible amount of foam tape, as I normally do. So that finishes up the card for today. I will be back soon with another video because I have like 5 or 6 in the hopper just waiting for voiceovers. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would, and we'll catch you next time.